So, one of my favorite books when I was a kid was A Race Against Time by William Kritlow, I think is how you pronounce his last name. It was part of the virtual reality series, and this was book one. And I read this like, I feel like I read it at least once a month growing up because I loved it so much. It came out in 1995, I believe. All the technology and virtual reality references are a bit dated, especially the computers and the telephones. They still have car phones in this book. And phones have the receivers, and the character, it falls gently on the cradle and they hang up the phone. Um, yeah, but I had great childhood memories of this book because I was only allowed to read Christian books, and this is a Christian book. It was published by Thomas Nelson Publishers, which is a Christian publishing company. And I loved sci-fi growing up. So not being able to read secular books by secular authors, I was stuck with the pretty crappy Christian sci-fi and fantasy that always had a lesson, always had an allegory. There's always some moral to be learned about. I had so much fun rereading this. Chapter one. I was sort of cringing a lot. So, chapter one, it should be called The Bad Guy Explains His Whole Plan in Just One Chapter. Like, the author just said, he just blah, like it all comes out. The whole plan in the very first chapter. Like, motive, what's going to happen, nothing left to keep you surprised or suspenseful or to keep you guessing. So, writing mistake number one tells the reader everything in the first couple pages. The villain of this book is Hammond Helbert. And it's funny, the author describes the male characters by and how good shape they are. And so Hammond is described with short legs and small feet, but he was still in good shape though, because he took care of himself. I know that was like a reoccurring theme. So Hammond has a younger brother, Matthew, who now works for the government. But like 10 years ago, they had started creating a virtual reality program together because they're both geniuses. It was a full body reality suit. And the book has a very strong emphasis on true virtual reality. It's almost like the whole virtual reality world is set up as like man almost trying to be God and create his own world to have control over, but the author always brings it back to that's not the real world. Like that can be an escape, but it's not really good for you, even though it's freaking awesome. you know, I think in the second book, or maybe the third one of the characters, Tim, one of the teenagers, starts spending too much time in virtual reality, and that's seen as a bad thing. So, yeah, very faith based, very like, this is our true reality here, and our purpose is to serve God, and blah, 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 blah. Hammond, the bad guy, short legs, small feet, he's still in good shape. He's going into the virtual reality program that Matthew has still been working on. The brothers had a falling out. They hadn't talked in a while. So he assumed that Matthew hadn't really done much with the program or kept it the way they would have had it. But no, Matthew has like totally changed since 10 years ago. And he goes into the virtual reality program. He ends up in this little town and everything's cute. And it says that he hates cute. But in the town, the people are these little chess pieces that are just, hopping around and they have faces and they can talk. And it's so funny because Hammond, he's conflicted because he hates cute things, but he loves chess. And so you sort of get the idea, and this is only page one. You get the idea that Matthew really knows his brother, and he knew his brother would find the program. And very interesting how he's able to create these feelings in his older brother being at war of himself by like almost liking the program, but at the same time he's absolutely repulsed. And typical, again, wait, this is page two, it says Haman saw a nauseating church building. So by page two, you know he's the villain because he's not religious. That's basically all Christian books. Ding, 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 ding. If they don't love Jesus, they're the bad guy. Like every single one of them. And by page two, you can tell it's set up to be a Jesus book just by that. Like I said, the emphasis on the true virtual reality, the nauseating church building, all that jazz. Haman is in there and he's looking for a formula that Matthew has hidden in the virtual reality program. Matthew is sick and he's going to die, and Haman knows this, and he actually wants his brother to die, and he wants to get his hands on the formula so he can blackmail the world into sending out this bacterium or virus. You don't really know what it is yet because it's the beginning of the book, that we soon find out only affects adults. And the suit in VR, which stands for virtual reality, it's cool. Again, 90s, but there's sensation simulators, so it's very real, computer generated sound. There's also, it can stimulate pain with electric shocks, and the game doesn't play around when it comes to the pain. Like, you could die of being shocked to death. So Matthew's basically set all these traps in VR because he knows that his older evil brother is going to come into the game and try to find the formula to blackmail the entire world. Haman, I don't want to say his name. He eventually comes to the realization that he is going to follow someone else going through the game because he knows someone else is going to figure out that Matthew has hidden the cure for this virus that is very contagious in VR. Please let me know that someone else read this series besides me as a child. Let me know that someone else shared my pain because I cannot find any info on this book. It's literally like I was the only kid stupid enough to read it. Growing up. Even though I have to admit I love it. I still to this day, all the cheesiness aside, I love this book because it was one of my favorite books growing up. So it always has a special place in my heart. So let me know if you didn't read this series, what were some of your favorite 90s Christian books that you read as a teenager or preteen?